Hello and welcome to this very special episode of our campaign Together Against COVID. As the coronavirus pandemic sweeping the nation notches up one scary statistic after another, here is another alarming figure: 40 million. The lockdown, which has been imposed to tackle the health crisis in India, has affected nearly 40 million, or 4 crores, internal migrants or informal workers, as per a report by the World Bank. Now, these are daily wage workers, domestic workers, workers in construction sites, factories, malls, households across the country who are today without a job and possibly on the roads with no avenues of earning or even getting home. They are struggling to make ends meet. Today, I'm joined by an esteemed panel to deliberate upon the highly relevant issue in greater detail. Please join me in welcoming on the show Shabana Azmi, actor, chairperson, Action Aid Association. Joining me also on the show is Sandeep Chachra, Executive Director, Action Aid Association. I also have on the show this evening Medha Patkar, social activist. I also have on the show Rahul N. Ram, musician, social activist, amazing singer, guitarist. Hemant Soren, the Chief Minister of Jharkhand, is with us as well on the show. Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, former Secretary Government of India, instrumental in framing and issuing the CSR guidelines for public sector enterprises. Ms. Azmi, I'd like to begin with you. Now, at this point of time where there are so many debates on trying to balance the human or the economic cost of the lockdown, what are the fault lines, the vulnerabilities that the coronavirus pandemic and, of course, the subsequent lockdown have exposed India to, in your mind?
The fault lines have been there, systematically put into the system for many, many decades now. And finally, we are paying the price for it. Because now when you look at this particular crisis, you can see that in the long term and the short term, what it is doing is creating insecurity, creating helplessness, creating hunger in the lives of already vulnerable sections, which are a majority of our population. We must remember that of our working population, 90% of them are in the informal sector. Without access to adequate housing, they have low incomes, they have no social security, and they have very little, if at all, access to public health. So what this pandemic has done is expose the fragile structure of our health, private healthcare system. We must remember that people come from the village to the city in search of work. They get work, but they don't get housing, and they live in these slums. Now, the way the slums are structured will leave no possibility for social distancing whatsoever, will not give you even the basic sanitation. So what do you do in a situation like that? You have to try and make sure that your villages are self-sufficient, that people don't have to leave the villages in search of a livelihood, that people get access to good healthcare in the private sector.
That's appreciated. I want to cut across to Medha Patkar right now. Ms. Patkar, for somebody who's been working so closely with the marginalized, how has the lockdown impacted the most vulnerable section of the society, which is our migrant workers?
Now, the impacts are of different kinds. I've just come after one day fast at the border of the Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, where thousands and thousands of workers are walking from Mumbai and Navi Mumbai to the Madhya Pradesh, and they for 5 to 6 days, and then they would walk further 1,000 and more kilometers to reach their destination in the Uttar Pradesh or Bihar. Now, this is ridiculous, but is there sensitivity enough? There is many discussions and debates going on, but what we have found is there is absolutely lacking coordination amongst the states concerned.
You know, at one level, the lockdown which was put in was lauded by many, especially the medical fraternity. But I want to cut across to Mr. Soren. Mr. Soren, सोरेन जी, भारत में लॉकडाउन को बहुत लोगों ने सराहना था, लेकिन क्या आपको लगता है कि लॉकडाउन लागू करने से पहले हमने एक इनफॉर्मल एंड माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स पर क्या असर होगा ये सोचना था और फिर इसको लागू करना था? मे बी फेजेस में लागू करना था, 3 दिन देने चाहिए थे उनको कि वो ट्रेन से वापस चले जाएं।
प्रीति जी, जो सवाल है आपका, लॉकडाउन के फेवर में मैं भी हूं और मैं लॉकडाउन को सराहता भी हूं, लेकिन कहा जाए कि जो प्रोसेस हुआ है इस लॉकडाउन में, उस प्रोसेस में ये बात जरूर है जो आज के दिन में पूरे देश में मजदूरों को लेकर, प्रवासी मजदूरों को लेकर, जहां तहां लोग फंसे हुए हैं उनको लेकर, कोटा जैसे जगहों पर छात्र छात्राओं को लेकर और भी अन्य जगहों पर जो लोग फंसे हैं उनको लेकर जो आहोपाहो पड़े स्थिति है, उससे थोड़ी अगर हम निजात, अगर उससे हम थोड़ा फ्रीली आज होते तो उसका एक ही माध्यम होना चाहिए था कि लॉकडाउन से पहले कम से कम कुछ दिन का ग्रे एरिया भारत सरकार को देना चाहिए था। राज्य सरकार तो ऐसे भी अपना धीरे धीरे लॉकडाउन कर ही रहे थे और जो भी आते बहुत स्क्रीनिंग होकर के आते और उसको जो सिस्टम था, भारत सरकार ने जो गाइडलाइन जारी किया था उसके तहत लोगों को क्वारंटाइन में रख करके उनकी टेस्टिंग करके आगे चीजों को बढ़ाई जाती।
I want to cut across to Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee. Dr. Chatterjee, what are your views of migrant workers taking to the streets in the aftermath of this lockdown, and from your experience as a senior administrator, just give us a possible insight into the measures that the government could have taken and did not to tackle this.
The issue of migrant laborers taking off for their hometowns and coming onto the streets is indeed as sad as it is vexing. I don't think anyone could have anticipated the alacrity with which this was done and how much migrant labor actually wanted to go back to where they came from. But I must say that the reaction of both state and central governments to that crisis was immediate and very effective. Because we were able to contain the flight of these migrant laborers back to their hometowns, we were able to intercept them, quarantine them, and then of course, as best as we can, we were able to feed them in temporary spaces where they were housed and kept. It is of course true that the best of services could not be provided, but nevertheless, we did prevent large-scale spread of the epidemic in the areas to which they would have gone had they proceeded unchecked. All in all, as surprising as it was, the reaction of our governments was timely and effective.
Mr. Ram, as per you, what is your assessment of where we went wrong? Lakhs of migrants on the road, forget about essential commodities, they don't even have basic food and water. Where did we go wrong?
The fear, of course, was that people would take the coronavirus into the villages, and once it reached there would be no controlling it. I think that's what caused this sort of stealth bombing sort of way of imposing the lockdown without giving any prior notice to people. Bangladesh did the opposite. They gave people a week to go home. Everybody went home. And that was because the virus had still not started to spread that fast. We didn't. And the medical reasons are clear, but the impact it has had on the workers is shocking and very sad to see. And it is very, weird to think that these workers therefore become sacrifices in a sense, that we will put them into camps. But in the camps, there is no social distancing either.
The civil society is playing a big role in coming to the rescue of this community, the marginalized. We've seen a lot of members of the civil society proactively do it. ActionAid is also now serving from the front line. Tell us a bit on how you're helping the informal workers cope with COVID-19 crisis.
Actually, just to say that 40 crore log hain, there are 40 crore workers in the informal sector in India. May not all be migrants, of which 4 crores are migrant workers. So this has had a very disrupting impact to the already very fragile incomes and livelihoods of the informal workers in general. ActionAid Association has long been supporting and working on the causes of informal workers together with informal workers across 24 states of the country and in several cities of India, more than almost about a decade and a half. So building on those relationships, our first response in the past 4 weeks now has been to provide relief, to bring succor to those who are suffering most, and among them, obviously, migrant informal workers and their families. We reached out to about 10 lakh families, informal workers' families, through dry rations, through cooked meals, through sanitation materials, through awareness. So I think that's been the first response and a natural response. You bring food to where there is none. You can see a specter of hunger arising quite strongly, and wherever we are distributing food, exporting food, you see long queues of workers wanting to have that food. It tells a very sorry tale of the state of affairs, as has been said. We're also extending out counseling services in several districts together with the district administration. We're also providing where needed, and in some instances we've done so, community-based quarantine facilities. So that's at one level. But there's a medium-term response needed, which we have been active, and that is to link with the various safety measures and relief entitlements that some state governments have announced.
Welcome back to our special show, Together Against COVID. While the government continues its fight against corona and assesses the lockdown situation, compassionate humans and organizations are working tirelessly to feed and protect the poor. One such organization providing relief across the country is Action Aid Association. I want to now once again go back to Sandeep. Action Aid Association, Sandeep, has also been providing support to governments through grounded policy inputs from the perspective of workers and vulnerable communities. Would you give us an insight on that?
Policy making is best when it's informed by aspirations, needs, and responds to the needs of people. And particularly when these are pandemic and disaster-like situations, this needs to be very quick. So with that duty, we've been with community. So listening and learning the ideas that are coming from them, the solutions that are coming from them, the recommendations that are coming from them. We've gathered these across the country, and we have shaped them up as documents which have been offered locally to the district administration, to the states, and nationally as well, to ministries, and in synergy with Niti Aayog. We've produced a series of such recommendations for informal workers, for women in informal economy, for children who are in difficult circumstances, for very marginalized groups such as the Musahars, the Vantangiyas in UP, the nomadic pastoralists across the country, the sex workers, the transgenders, some other are on the way. So these are being offered.
Medha Patkar, now the informal workers, marginalized communities, migrant workers are feeling clearly a sense of distrust, mistrust and betrayal from the government and their employees. Now, how can that distrust be rebuilt?
During this lockdown, there has been the consistent and conscious efforts to really divide the communities in different ways. It is not just the religion-based distancing, but that is what is pushed to the maximum by the rulers. But it is also that the villagers feel distanced from those who had gone out and are now coming back. This fear psychosis that is created with the lot of publicity campaign on the corona and its impact needs to be really questioned. We really took to the lockdown without considering the impacts on all of this, without considering the readiness and the capacity of our own health system. Now, what we should now move towards is to really give primacy to the primary health care. To start what is like Mohalla Clinic by the Delhi government is showing.
Ms. Azmi, taking off from what you also said, there are many migrants today who are on the roads. Supply chains are completely disrupted. Essential services are hardly even getting to some of the privileged and containment zones, so leave alone the migrants on the road. Now, how can one actually reach basic food? Because some of them are don't even have access to basic food as well. So how does that reach these migrants, and what is Action Aid doing for that?
We have successfully managed to reach 10 lakh people. 10 lakh people in 171 districts and 1 union territory, which is an amazing number. Of course, we've been able to do it because of the grants that we have received from various organizations and individuals, and we've also been able to do it because at the ground level we have a lot of partners. But the main reason we are being able to do it is because we have created a network at the grassroots of people with whom we have a tangible relationship.
मिस्टर सोरेन, ये हेल्थ केयर, एजुकेशन, सोशल सिक्योरिटी जैसी सेवाओं तक पहुंचने के लिए संघर्ष कर रहे हैं। खाना तक नहीं मिल रहा है, अभी भी रोड पर हैं, जैसा मेधा जी बोल रही थी ना। इस मुद्दे से निपटने की हमारी क्या योजना है?
हम अपने राज्य की बात करें तो आज हम विशेषकर 2 क्षेत्रों पर विशेष फोकस हम करके चल रहे हैं। एक सामाजिक सुरक्षा को लेकर और दूसरा स्वास्थ्य सेवा को लेकर। और सामाजिक सुरक्षा में अगर हम देखें कि लोगों को अनाज मिलना चाहिए, लोग भूखे ना रहें, और इस विषय पर हम लोगों ने लगभग लॉकडाउन की खबर हम लोगों के कान में आने तक में से ही हमने चीज़ें प्रारंभ कर दी थी। और आज हमारे राज्य में लगभग 4,500 पंचायतें हैं और लगभग 8 से 9 हज़ार हमारे सामुदायिक किचन चल रहे हैं। और शहरों में मुख्यमंत्री दाल भात योजनाएं चल रही हैं। अनाज तो बट ही रहा है, जिनका कार्ड नहीं है उनको भी अनाज दी जा रही है। हम सरकार की तरफ से तो बड़े पैमाने पर लोगों को राहत कार्य के माध्यम से लोगों को जोड़ रखा ही है। साथ साथ में हजारों की संख्या में समाज सेवी लोगों ने भी आज के इस संक्रमण में बाहर आकर के गरीबों की मदद की है।
Dr. Chatterjee, the pandemic has now taught us many lessons. How do you think we should rebuild our society as a reaction to this crisis, and what role can CSR play in this?
The pandemic has indeed drawn our attention to many aspects of our lives. And I think primary among the things it has taught us is that our investment in public health has to be seriously jacked up. We have to take our public health issues much more seriously, allocate much larger shares of the budget to this very important vertical. This will help us to anticipate some of the major challenges that come at us every few years. Additionally, of course, CSR has played a great role. We are blessed in this country that we actually have a law on CSR. And that has enabled the PM CARES Fund to come to the fore, and for government also to issue a notification that all activities connected with COVID-19 would be treated as CSR expenditure.
लॉकडाउन समाप्त होने के बाद सुरेन जी, हम अपने अनौपचारिक या इनफॉर्मल जो सेक्टर है, इनफॉर्मल इकोनॉमी है, की देखभाल के लिए क्या तैयारी कर सकते हैं?
देखिए प्रीति जी, इस विषय पर हमारी चिंता है, क्योंकि आज सबसे अधिक मजदूर झारखंड के लोग, यहाँ पर मजदूर तबके के ही लोग अधिक हैं। और हम जैसे वो लॉकडाउन खत्म होगा वो लोग आने शुरू करेंगे, निश्चित रूप से रोजगार की बात सबसे पहले होगी। और इसके लिए हम लोगों ने मनरेगा के माध्यम से कई योजनाओं को भी वर्कआउट किया हुआ है। हम ग्रामीण क्षेत्र के लिए भी एक अलग कार्य योजना बना रहे हैं, शहरी क्षेत्रों के लिए भी एक हम अलग कार्य योजना बना रहे हैं, ताकि हमारे लोगों को आते ही रोजगार यहाँ मिले, अधिक से अधिक लोग इसमें एंगेज हो। और हमारा एक टारगेटेड फिक्स है, हम जिस जनसंख्या के साथ हमारे मजदूर यहाँ पर हैं उस जनसंख्या को लेकर हमने वर्क प्लान किया हुआ है। और जब लोग आएंगे, जैसे हमें खबर भी मिल रही है कहीं कहीं कि लोग बहुत बड़े पैमाने पे जो प्रवासी मजदूर आ रहे हैं वो संक्रमित भी होके आ रहे हैं। ये एक बहुत बड़ी चुनौती होगी। ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में जब संक्रमण बढ़ेगा तो उस समय सरकार के लिए और चुनौती होंगी स्वास्थ्य को लेकर। इसके लिए हम लोगों ने सोशल पुलिसिंग को एक नया जिम्मेवारी, जो पहले से जिम्मेवारी थी उसको थोड़ा सा इलोबरेट करके सोशल पुलिसिंग को एक्टिव हम लोगों ने करना प्रारंभ कर दिया है। जो गांव के स्तर पर भी जो हमारे प्रधान हैं, जो हमारे मान की मुंडा व्यवस्था इस राज्य के अंदर है, उनको एक्टिव करके जो लोग संक्रमित लोग गांव में आएंगे उनके साथ कैसे व्यवहार में आना है, कैसे उनको रखना है, कैसे देखभाल करनी है, उसकी जिम्मेवारी हम लोग उनको भी सौंपने जा रहे हैं, ताकि गांव में भी अगर कोरोना पहुंचता है, संक्रमित लोग पहुंचते हैं, तो वो भी वहां पर चीजों को ना फैलाएं।
Going forward from here, what is ActionAid's vision to support the cause of the marginalized?
Well, firstly, to collect data because that's the most important thing we need. When a crisis occurs, we never have any data at all, and so we don't know how to proceed. Unfortunately, when the crisis is over, we forget about it. That's the lesson that we have to learn from this. And so we are working with the municipal corporation, we are working with the district magistrate, with the local authorities, we are working with our grassroots workers are working with the communities, and that's how we are going forward. But I think the lesson that we finally learn from this is that I hope that this will lead to a better world order, a world order that is just, world order that is in sync with nature, a world order that doesn't make the divide between the rich and the poor so stark as it is, because it's made us aware how interdependent we are on each other. And I think a very important lesson I read the other day, something that really struck me, is that maybe we can relearn lessons that we already have known, such as that if you wash your hands, you can prevent intestinal infections. If you wear a mask, you can prevent influenza. If you stay indoors, you are going to be beneficial for the environment. Solitude can also enhance creativity. Curtailing grief can make sure that there is enough for everybody.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. With that, we wrap up this show. Even as daily wagers and migrant workers remain the worst affected by the coronavirus pandemic, there are compassionate individuals and organizations like ActionAid Association which are driven to stand together against COVID and help those who need it the most. I'd like to thank all our panelists, all our guests for this thought-provoking discussion. And with it, it's a wrap. News and updates continue on the other side. Thank you for watching. Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.